Now, the Congress is considering new sanctions on Russia. They're not as tough as the ones that were passed in the Obama administration, but they would definitely affect the Russian economy. And Vladimir Putin, of course, is furious about it. And so it's very interesting to see which way Congress is going to go, and then, of course, the White House. Is Donald Trump going to pretend to be in favor of sanctions? But you know what? If he signs the bill, then you're not pretending anymore. Then you pass the sanctions. Then I go, hey, you know what? Okay, maybe he'll change later, but for the moment being, he didn't lift the sanctions. That's what Russia wanted most, and that's what we thought the deal was, right? So let's go find out together. Well, Reuters reporting US President Donald Trump could veto pending legislation that would slap new sanctions on Russia. He says, in order to push for a tougher deal. No, but wait. We have these sanctions that you have been fighting against the entire time. Now you claim you want to make it tougher. Well, then we go to our new friend Anthony Scaramucci, and he says he may veto the sanctions and negotiate an even tougher deal against the Russians. Okay, you say that, but then Reuters follows up with the idea of Trump wanting to strengthen the sanctions drew skepticism in Congress because his administration had spent weeks lobbying for a weaker bill. It's not like we can't see that. Your guys are all over Congress going, don't do the sanctions. And if you're gonna do the sanctions, make it much weaker. Now when you say, I'm gonna veto the sanctions bill if they pass it all the way through Congress, you say, because I'd like them to be tougher. We know you're lying. You lied in public. All the congressmen and all the senators know you're lying because you just told them a couple of days ago that you want the sanctions to be weaker. Now pretending that you want them to be tougher is preposterous, but it gets worse because Reuters explains the White House has said that Trump is still evaluating the bill and supported strong sanctions against Russia. However, Trump can impose new sanctions at any time through an executive order. So wait a minute, if you wanted tougher sanctions, why don't you just do them now? You can pass the bill and then go, you know what, on top of that, here's an executive order with tougher sanctions on Russia. The reality is you don't want those sanctions, you can't have those sanctions, and you're risking your entire political career and your administration to possibly veto this bill because you've got to deal with the Russians. It's the most obvious thing in the world. Any person who doesn't have a deal with the Russians would think, what am I going to endanger my entire administration? These guys are breathing down my neck. There's a special counsel, there's these investigators. If in the middle of all this, I veto a bill that the sanctions on Russia for meddling in our election, my own intelligence agencies, the guys I appointed, Dan Coats, Mike Pompeo, head of the CIA, director of national intelligence, telling me there is no doubt and no dissent Russia interfered with our elections. Why on God's green earth would you defy your own party who's actually pushing this forward, and credit to the Republicans for doing so. Of course, the Democrats agree, but the Republicans doing this despite a Republican president opposed to it, give them credit for that. Your own intelligence agencies, not Obama's, telling you that the Russians did do it. And so if you block it and you veto it, you basically told us there's nothing I can do because if I don't block these sanctions, Putin is going to deliver on the other end of the threat. We don't know what the other end of that threat is, but Mueller's busy trying to find out. This is the most obvious thing in the world. If you like this clip of the Young Turks, you know there's a whole live 2-hour show, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern every day, and you can download it or stream it and watch it without ads if you become a member. tytnetwork.com/join.